What's up guys and dolls, it's LeakyTapsMan here with another wish list for you. This time it is for the Wii U, also known as the Wii 2, basically Nintendo's next console. So we've seen this revealed. It's got an entirely new controller, which is basically a tablet with proper buttons and thumbsticks, etc. It's got a really big screen, 6 inches I think, giggity. It's got a built-in camera. It looks really cool, I think it does anyway. There's some split opinion on it all. But anyway, this is what I'd like to see in the console itself, and also with the controller in mind. Okay, so my main one is that I would love to see proper online functionality, so something comparable to Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. Get rid of the friend codes, make sure it's unique IDs, so like a gamer tag for instance, so it's just a name. Give us proper headset compatibility for voice chat, just the stuff that you would expect as standard from an online games console nowadays. It doesn't have to be a world beater, just functional and just what you would expect. PlayStation Network pretty much proved that you can have a decent service without having to pay monthly. I mean, cross-game chat would be really a big feature for them to include, but knowing Nintendo, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do it. But that's one thing that I would really like. As for the games themselves and the technology in general, I think the games for it should be 1080p as native resolution. I think that's pretty much a necessity now. Almost everyone has a HD TV, and if you buy a HD telly now, it's very rare that it won't have full HD, i.e. 1080p. Should also be 60 frames per second where it can be, but I know that this isn't always the most appropriate amount of frames per second. Sometimes it looks worse in 60 than 30, but definitely 1080p native. I think that should be a given. As for the controller itself, this is more aimed towards developers than Nintendo, because I know Nintendo will do this, but third-party developers may not, and that's utilize the tablet to its full potential, similar to what the DS was like. When two screens first came out, people were unsure what to think of it, but then developers really started taking advantage of the extra screen and not just using it as a map, and we really saw some great games that weren't able to be done on any of the gaming machine. So I'd like to see something similar on the Wii U, where we see a lot of games that only the Wii U can do. Ha, rhymed. That's probably one of the most important points for me. Really try and distinguish yourself from the crowd, because that's what made the Wii sell so many consoles to begin with. As for the tablet controller itself, I'd say the design is pretty much, I wouldn't say flawless, but it's fine. All that I would say is make the circle pads or the thumbsticks clickable, because at the moment they're not, I believe. And if they really want to try and bring hardcore games back to Nintendo machines, then they need to put those on, because that's 2 buttons lost, and they're 2 frequently used buttons as well for shooters and whatnot. So keeping them out would kind of put themselves at a disadvantage, not a major one, but one nonetheless. A lot of inklings in the Nintendo side of things reckon that you can only use 1 tablet per console, which I think would be a massive mistake, and being able to use at least 2, if not 4, would be such an incredible gaming experience, I think. Their reasoning is that the tablets probably cost too much to buy as a standalone controller, which is fair enough, I understand that part, but consider the fact that we have friends nearby that also have a Wii U, so we each have a tablet controller and we can take one to our friend's house. Being able to, say, play a first-person shooter where you've got your screen down on the Wii U's controller and they're playing on their own controller, and say you've got a third guy playing with a Wiimote on the television, I think that would be really awesome. Obviously not just in FPSs, but in other genres as well. They could really utilize doing that. Something like Zelda 4 Swords would be incredible on that. So at least make it 2 per console for me. As much as people would have you believe, local multiplayer still does exist, and it still is probably the best type of multiplayer. In terms of launch lineup, obviously bring out at least 1 big hitter that will bring in the punters. A Mario game, Donkey Kong, maybe a 3D Donkey Kong like 64, but obviously an updated version. Something like F-Zero would work well, I think, or Professor Layton definitely. But there needs to be at least 1 killer app at launch from Nintendo, because they can't rely on third parties to make a system seller at launch, because it never works that way. With third parties in mind, I would say Nintendo make sure your third-party support is much better this generation, because the Wii was incredibly lacking in third-party games. It always got the watered-down version of any popular games, and it missed out on so many good games due to the technical limitations. I'd say while you've got this brief period where the Wii U is out before the Xbox 720 and PlayStation 4, get every big hitter that you can, so like GTA 5, Assassin's Creed 3, basically any big game that's multi-platform. Stick your foot in the door and try and get it on your console. As for the virtual console, which is one of my favourite features in the Wii, I'd just say expand this to add GameCube games, Dreamcast games, and maybe also handheld games, so Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, and the original Game Boy, like we've seen on the 3DS. The virtual console was a really good feature, so just expand on what we've already got, and it can only improve. Carrying on with the whole downloadable side of things, I'd say include a proper marketplace, so allow downloadable content, demos and trailers, etc., which it hasn't got at the moment, or hasn't got in abundance anyway. I'd say this rumoured marketplace for apps for the tablet is a good start. Definitely, if the rumour isn't true, then they should definitely consider it, because it would be really good to show off the technology, kind of like what we've seen with Kinect. And finally, not a major one, but something that they should definitely do is have a hard drive as standard, because memory is so cheap nowadays, and developers constantly whinge about the fact that the 360 didn't have a standard hard drive, and it held them back on a lot of titles which could have utilised it. So I'd say even if it's just a small hard drive, like 250 gig, just put it in. The cost won't be that much more, and it'll improve everyone's experience. I'm sure people would gladly pay $10 extra, because it wouldn't cost much more than that for you to mass produce it. And that's pretty much everything that I want from the Wii U. I really want this console to succeed, because Nintendo always try and bring something new to the table, which is admirable in this day and age, because very few companies do. I think the features and changes that I've listed are all very much feasible. There's nothing that's out of the realms of possibility. It would only help to make Nintendo a major force, which they already are, but they've kind of been slipping the last year or so. So I'd love to see them get back as the powerhouse, because they are the lesser of three evils, pretty much. Okay, so that's my list. Is there any kind of features or additions that you guys would like to see? Because as always, I'd love to hear them. The feedback on my other wishlist videos have been incredible. I always like to see things from a different perspective. So thanks for watching, thanks for your time. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Goodbye.